Automakers were hoping to ride the boom in 2018, but it did indeed play out that way in the first few months of the year before turning south. That's prompted automakers to turn to discounting even on some new launches. But 2019 is a new year and car makers are only adding to their offerings. So will that help cushion the fall? Joining us to talk about it and what's in store for 2019, Hormazd Sorabjee, editor of Autocar India. Hormazd, pleasure having you as always. Firstly, how would you characterize the year gone by, both in terms of products that we've seen in the market and consumer demand?
Well, I think, I think the year started off quite well. There was pretty good demand, but as you said, towards the end, the demand has really tanked. And I think multiple reasons for that. Obviously, fuel prices play a big role in that. The fuel prices just skyrocketed. The rupee depreciated. So all these factors generally have created a kind of I wouldn't say a bit of a panic, but people have kind of put their car purchases on hold. I think also if you see the new launches, there have been very few big launches in the mass market. You've had cars like the Hyundai Santro, you had the Swift earlier, but I think beyond that, it's been one of those years where there's not been really any major big ticket launches. So I think it's a combination of all these factors, and of course, as we come to the end of 2018, clearly it's a very difficult market. Even the luxury end, which was growing quite a bit, that's also seeing it's a very small base, but even off that small base where you would expect a lot of growth has been quite small. So I think across the board, the sentiment has been pretty down. And I think we've been seeing some, trends emerging, though the SUV segment, which is, again, let's say the hottest segment in the market, I see that kind of softening a bit because, again, the impact of fuel prices is going to maybe drive people back a bit to hatchbacks. And also, I think in 2019, we're going to see some key models being launched. We have the new WagonR, which is coming on Jan 23rd. And we will be seeing a lot of products being refreshed because you've got crash safety norms coming in for which, you need a new model lineup because some of the old existing ones will have to go and new ones will have to come. So I think 2019, there will be more models coming in. And probably, I think it should be a better year.
What to your mind would be the most exciting or the most sort of sought after product segment to look out for, where product launches are likely to be more?
Well, I think, as I think 2019, we're going to see some really key products. You've got the Tata Harrier, which is being launched on the 23rd, coincidentally with the WagonR. So two real heavyweights in their own segment, in the sense a lot of interest around the Tata Harrier. Of course, it remains to be seen how a 20 lakh Tata car will work in the market. It will be a test of the brand, but I think early indications show that the response has been very good. So this product could be a game changer for Tata Motors in terms of the brand and the way it's perceived. And, if they get it right on this, then the brand will really have come of age. So that's really something everyone will be watching. A WagonR is always a huge seller. So you've got an all-new WagonR coming, one which meets the new safety norms as well, which are coming in October 2019. So that's going to be a big volume seller. You've got the new Hyundai subcompact SUVs, which is again going to come into the Brezza segment. You've got Mahindra coming in with the XUV 300, again car with a lot of promise. So you've got quite a range of products coming in this year in I would say the sub 10 lakh segment. So when you're in sub 10 lakh segment, you're looking at bigger volumes, and obviously those volumes can grow the market. I think you're even looking at a new Alto, a new an Omni replacement, because let's not forget that all these old products, all these legacy products, they have to go because they cannot meet the new crash regulations. That means even the Tata Nano has to go eventually. Not that it was great volumes, but of course it's very significant once Tata Motors pulls the plug on that.
Sure.
So you will see a cleaning out of all the old legacy models and the new models being coming in to replace them.
What about the luxury segment, Hormazd? You were mentioning that you did see sentiment taper off even for the luxury segment in this year. Anything interesting to look forward to?
Well, I think the luxury segment, obviously the barometer of that is Mercedes, which is by far the market leader. But from all accounts, I mean, they haven't announced their sales, but what we hear is that they will better their last year's sales numbers, but not by much. They did about 15,300 last year. They were expecting to do 17,500 at the start of this year, but they've kind of rolled back on that target, and they'll probably just about beat what they did last year. So it'll be slightly flattish for them. Of course, Audi have had a lot of problems, and they've had their own challenges, more global than in India, and that's impacted them over here. I expect Volvo to grow quite a bit, but it's a very, very small base. So even if they grow by 20-30%, it really doesn't impact much. And Jaguar Land Rover also will show some growth. But you talk to dealers, it's a bloodbath out there. I mean, the discounting on luxury cars is just massive. And they've been commoditized, and that's even impacting some of the brands. So I think a big challenge there for the luxury segment as well. And it's not that they're getting any cheaper, because, just the cascading effects of duty, especially on CBUs, just makes them more and more expensive.
One final question. This year saw the very interesting announcement in the two-wheeler space of an iconic brand like Java. What do you think are its prospects against a well-established brand in Bullet?
Well, I think, it's very interesting. Obviously, there's a phenomenal response to both products. So, it's quite interesting to know that retro is got this. Retro is such a rage in a millennial world. Yeah. But I think, I think what these products bring is something refreshingly different. Obviously, let's not forget, these volumes will be very niche, very small in the overall, two-wheeler space, which, it'll be quite, in fact, even just a drop in the ocean. But I think what it does say is that, there's a lot of interest in these brands. And obviously, earlier, Royal Enfield, which was known for, let's say, having that character, the typical Enfield character, which everyone kind of bought into, but the products not being so good. But I think for the first time, they've produced a genuinely world-class product. In fact, it's got me on a bike after almost 15-20 years, and I've been riding that, and so it's really come out quite well. From what I understand, the Java has too, and it's got that character. It's got the legacy of the older, what the Java stood for. So I think these cars, these bikes, they stand for something, and I think that's what's really important going ahead. Because from the clutter, you've got to have a sharp brand identity, a sharp brand focus, because that's what makes you stand apart, especially in the two-wheeler space, where two-wheelers are generally just commuters and commodities.
Good talking to you, Hormazd. We'll leave it there. Thank you so much indeed for joining us, and Happy New Year to you. Hormazd Sorabjee, editor of Autocar India, talking to us about automobiles, cars and bikes for 2019.